If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
In this episode of Mind Pump, for the first 15 minutes, we do our typical intro.
Why did you say 15? Doug wrote 16.
My bad. 16. Was it 16? Is that 6 or 5?
Oh, wow. Is your site going like that?
Oh, my God.
It says 16 minutes.
Where am I?
Wow. Look at him squinting, Justin. You see him squinting right now to do that?
I cannot see them all.
Justin, I know, has got bad sight, but you really bad.
I do, man. I'm the one wearing the glasses in the group.
You know what sucks too?
You can borrow mine,
I had
dude.
laser eye surgery a while ago too.
Oh, you better get your money back.
It was a long time ago.
That was a bad laser.
It was a bad laser.
You better get a
So
good
we
laser.
start off by talking about our
Doug just blew up the letters for you, it looks like.
our favorite. We talk about our favorite
Get you a
interviews
magnifying glass.
in the past 30 days.
Man, it's been going like fire.
We talk about Doe-Eyed Drew
Doe-Eyed Drew. And Taylor. We gave some love to Taylor.
and Justin's
T-Dog too.
run and gun
Yeah.
at the Spartan interviews. And then we also mentioned Shauna, who's our representative from Organifi, who we absolutely loved. She, Drew Cannoli, if you're listening right now, she represents your brand very, very well.
We're thinking about getting engaged with you guys. We're on the fence right now. We're kind of courting now.
We're
We
courting,
like you.
we're flirting, all that
I
fun
see what you
stuff.
did. You sent your superstar Shauna over to meet us and kind of win us over, and then you throw over a contract to lock us in for the rest of our lives. I see you guys. I see what you're doing. We like what you're doing.
And like your style.
But you know what was cool? She brought because nobody remembered to bring their green juice, which was, I was like, fuck, we're gonna need this.
We were screwed.
We're
Shame
going
on
to need
us.
this because we were going so hard. But Shauna delivered,
Hooked it up.
gave us the green juice, and I got to
We
give
had it all weekend.
I got to give it to Drew for his first time ever, and he loved it. Little doe-eyed Drew, a little
doe-eyed Drew.
19-year-old.
And so those of you that stay on top of all of our YouTube channel, you can see how much Organifi green juice affects editing skills.
Yeah, watch.
It's a lot better.
Take a look at
It
what we have
creates hot
coming up
fire.
on YouTube.
By the way, if you want to get Organifi products, go to OrganifiShop.com, enter the code MindPump, and you'll get a fat, massive, big discount.
Whoa.
Then we get into the questions. The first question was, is there an optimal length of time to do a cut without losing muscle? And would a slower cut be better for your metabolism than a faster one?
Find out if the answer is 172 hours.
No cuts, no butts, no coconuts.
The next question was, is it true that you need to warm up the body with cardio before lifting? The answer is no
Should we be aimless or purposeful?
and yes.
Do you know how to golf?
The next question was, what are our thoughts on low-calorie, quote-unquote, healthy foods like Halo Top and how they affect a person's relationship with food? For example, Justin...
Find out how much ice cream I used to eat every single day.
And Justin ate like 15 meat bars the other day.
Yeah, I like them meat bars.
But they're healthy. Finally, the last question. Is there anything we miss about personal training? Me and Justin miss it. Adam hated it. He talks about
Adam
it.
just dumped everybody. I was like, peace.
He talks about it in this episode. And finally, because we do mention MAPS Prime in this episode, I want to mention we have something called the MAPS Prime Bundle. Now, what we've done is we've taken MAPS Prime, which is a program that assesses you and teaches you how to program what to do before your workouts. This is super important, by the way. I want to be clear here. What you do before your workouts really sets the stage for how effective what you do in your workout is. If you squat, deadlift, bench press, overhead press, whatever, and you don't prime your body properly, you could be sending the wrong signals. Yeah. You could be creating bad recruitment patterns, or you could be just not building as much muscle as you could or burning as much fat. MAPS Prime teaches you that, but we also have MAPS Prime Pro, which is a totally different program, which is fully correctional. Mm-hmm. With MAPS Prime Pro, it helps you assess your body, identify pain, identify areas of significance,
discomfort,
and then you correct them with correctional exercises. That program was designed with the well-known and prestigious movement, mobility, brilliant specialist,
guru,
Dr. Justin Brink. He actually helped us create that. So we've taken both programs, put them together.
Shout out to Dr. Brink.
At a massive discount. You can find the Prime and Prime Pro bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. And by the way, that bundle is for anybody, regardless of your workouts. I don't care if you do CrossFit, bodybuilding, marathon running, whatever. That
Whatever
bundle,
crazy shit you're doing.
Get them together and you get a discounted rate.
that bundle will help you out. Again, it's at mindpumpmedia.com.
Dude, you know what would be the best is if somebody finally came out with like an American Gladiator course, right? And they were like trying to throw shit at you, and you had to like run through them and like.
See, to
So you want
that'd
one
be
with,
amazing.
You want
To
one
me-
with real danger, like
To
Yeah.
me, American Gladiator needs to be reborn because that whole
dude, I loved that show.
so did I.
People get jacked.
Who didn't love American
I
Gladiator?
loved that show. You always had these like roided out bodybuilders.
Nitro.
They were the dude.
Yes.
What about the women?
Hercules.
Remember the women?
Like I feel like if they were, and remember Joe DiStefano was telling us back in the days how they used to have the gladiators, the
Yeah,
joust.
he would
Spartan.
jack him at the end. When
I
they're
love
finishing.
that. I love that idea.
You know what I saw once that I
like
thought
punch
was
somebody.
that I thought was brilliant. This was, and I think it was around Halloween. It might even be happening now. Is they have these races where they're like scary, and you're running through obstacles and shit, and then there's people that have like crazy makeup on to look like zombies and monsters and shit, and they fucking chase you down in this scary situation.
Now you're adrenaline running.
yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Think about how fun that would be. You know what I'm saying? Because it's fake.
Like
Just-
loud dogs on chains, just
I think it would be cool just to have like a backpack version of, remember the gun they used to have that shot the tennis balls?
yeah.
And you could be on the trail, like hidden in
I was
places.
just
You
talking
come
about
around, you come
paintball.
around the corner on like I was going, poof, like a tennis ball.
That would suck.
Tennis ball just pelts you in the side of the head while you're running.
Everybody's wearing helmets through this whole thing.
Right, I think it'd be awesome. That would take it now.
Let's
obstacle
go
course
extreme,
racing
extreme.
would be
You know
cool-
what I
would
mean?
be cool
super
to me.
extreme.
Would be
Super
cool to me.
duper extreme.
Yeah, you may die.
Yeah.
Most people die.
Hey, you were getting interviewed this morning. What was the podcast? What was going on?
Paleo OMG
Oh yeah.
with Julie Bauer.
How? What'd you think?
Great. She, her style is she's pretty. She can be raw on her show, which I like.
Did she swear when she?
Wow.
On her show, yeah, she
did,
does.
Did she when she
that's
interviewed?
great.
you?
No, because I did most of the talking,
Right.
which is kind of weird.
Which kind of happens.
I know. But no, I cussed a couple times on the show.
Who were okay? So I can't even count how many interviews we've done this last 30 days. What are some of your guys' top 2 or so that you would say like
Ooh,
were-
Dr. Andy Galpin.
Wow, you said that fast.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
Wow.
That we interviewed.
That we interviewed.
Yeah.
Either or.
Okay.
That interviewed us, or that either one. What
Yeah.
are some of your favorite interviews?
Galpin is great. He was good. I thought Josh Trent from
Yeah.
Wellness Force did a
He does a great job.
He did a great job.
Yeah.
And, there's not all podcasters have that ability to do that like he does. Mm-hmm. And so I'd say he's probably one of the better interviewers that I've been interviewed by.
You know what's interesting is we talked about this a lot, like, because I did a podcast with him too, and it was like the free flow form, that we kind of have. Like, he picked up on that right away because he used to over plan, and he was interviewing a lot of CEOs and people that like he needed a lot of background on, and so he would do all this like planning and structure. And then
man.
he just started ripping it out like that, and he's doing really well.
Dude, if you look at the greatest interviewers of all time, they may plan, sure, like Barbara Walters or Howard Stern. I'm sure they have an idea, but it never comes across scripted, and it's always comes across as very conversational.
Yeah.
So that's what you got to kind of do. Josh Trent does a good job of that.
Yeah.
But we had a great episode with him up in up at the Spartan race.
Tahoe.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, in my opinion, of all the interviewers and interviewees that we've dealt with, I think that Josh Trent is by far
He's the most talented.
He's
right?
one of the most underrated.
Yeah.
Considering how good and the definition of good to me, and you guys can interrupt or tell me what you think.
will.
Right?
Yeah.
I think somebody who has this ability to let the conversation just naturally flow. Like, nothing drives me more crazy when people ask like these scripted questions.
And they're
that-
too calculated.
Well, and they don't flow with the conversation. It's like you asked me about something that's related to like my childhood, then all of a sudden you jump over to like
Carbs.
yeah, right. It's like whoa, that's not. I would never communicate with somebody like that in real life. Like if we were all just bullshitting, having a conversation, we wouldn't be talking about like sports,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden I ask you like a business question. Like that just doesn't.
It shouldn't feel like an interview.
Yeah.
Because, when we first started interviewing people, we had that issue where it was like, do I ask these questions? What do I do?
Mm-hmm.
And then we did our own episodes. They were so great. And we're just like, why don't we just do the same thing?
Why can't we capture this?
Yeah,
with
why
other
don't we
people?
just do the same thing and just have a conversation?
I would be with you, Sal. I really liked the Josh Trent episode a lot. And then the Ben Greenfield one. That was probably one of my favorite.
That was
Ben Greenfield episodes.
You know what? You know what it was? Because that was very interview-like. So it was,
Well, he was just reading questions.
that's what it was. And Ben knows us.
Yeah.
So the way it worked is it's actually up. It's up right now.
Yeah, it's on-
it's there.
on-
Go check it out on
It's
Ben
up.
Greenfield's
Yeah.
podcast.
So Ben got in the conversation for the first 15 minutes, and then he had to leave. So he had somebody stand in.
Brock.
And he gave Brock a list of questions, but Ben knows us.
yeah.
So he asked the good questions that got us into these nice conversations, and then the rest was good. But it was good though.
Have you listened to it yet? So have you?
I've listened to half.
Did you hear where I totally insulted him with the 1990 business school comment? Oh, that just so happens to be when I went.
Accident.
Whoops. Yeah.
Or on purpose.
And then Sal is a accidental dick. You hear me?
Accidental dick.
I did say that.
You did. You're even an accidental.
remember that
dick.
one.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Well, he made the reference, which I hear all the time. Is I don't remember when we first started this. Everybody wants to know who's your niche market. Like give me your avatar. Who's your direct customer? And I hate that. And to me, it's so business school from 1990, before the wild, wild west of the web.
Before you could reach hundreds of thousands of millions of people. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I get it. I understand where that comes from.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of truth to it.
There is
I'll give you
some.
an example. We go on podcasts because we know that world, right? You'll get on the podcast, you'll look at what's new and notable and all that stuff, and a nice chunk of them will have in their title something that already niches them, like paleo podcast or keto something or the CrossFit podcast or whatever, because and it gets them attention,
It gets
right?
you traffic.
It does, because if I'm like a super fanatical, keto person and I search through podcasts, the first one's going to pop up is the one with the name with the keto in the name.
Yeah.
The problem is, where do you go from there?
Yeah.
You're going to talk about keto all the time
You
forever.
just set your ceiling.
You have no future plans. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. And I think, and personally, a part of that decision was selfish on all of our parts. Like, I don't want to just talk about one topic.
No.
If you're gonna ask us to
I'll
do
get
an
bored.
episode, pretty much every day, you're gonna have to give me more than just fitness to talk about. Or I'm as much as I love fitness, like I'll go crazy. All of us, right? So, there's some people that think that's a smart strategy, and I guess if that's
It's short versus long-term thinking,
Yeah.
because you could make a great business and a little niche business that people know you for that subject, right? You become the expert in that realm, but after that, like you said, it's going to get capped. Like there's nowhere else you can really, maneuver from there. It's going to be tough.
And here's what happens when you attach yourself to a movement that's niche or whatever. If you do a good job of it and you're the best, yes, you'll get this meteoric explosion attached to it. However, at some point, these things always swing back. So, like, if you were, like, when Atkins, remember the Atkins diet when that came out? And it was like the big thing because it was low carb, high fat. It was the opposite of what everyone was being told.
Yep.
Imagine if you had an Atkins podcast at that time.
I bet you
would have
exist.
blown up. Probably it would have
you
blown
say
up.
that.
But
There's
then
probably
remember, and then when the popular went down, guess what happens to your audience? And that goes down too.
Yeah.
It's not really the best long term strategy if you ask me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I 100% agree with that.
You know who I fell in love with over this trip?
Shauna.
No.
Oh.
She's awesome though. She's the
she was
Organifi.
great. I had a good conversation with her.
Yeah, she's our Organifi contact.
Yeah.
And she's an awesome young lady. And she gave us some more free green juice. Which
I
was
know.
nice.
That's why I love her.
But you know who I fell in love with? Drew.
Drew.
he-
Our little boy.
he's our dude.
Our doe-eye Drew.
I Drew.
He's so cute.
So we
Oh,
have.
I thought you were going to say, because this was the first time, and I was telling Katrina this last night. I was really excited to finally get Taylor to sit down and share his.
I already loved Taylor.
I know.
Yeah.
we had a great conversation with him. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah.
Well, that's just it. Is like, so I, of course, because I know Taylor really well, and was impressed with him long time ago. I knew his whole story, and you guys just, I think, trust my judgment if I say, hey, this is our guy, just trust me. And
we've worked with him for a little while.
Right. So I think everybody really loves him and respects him. But for the first time, I think he actually shared his complete story of how he built his little empire and how much of an authority he was in his niche, right? In his in the shoe world, like how he created that for himself and how talented he really was, man. And so it's pretty cool to I got to watch you guys hear all of that for the first time and get to listen to him, because he's not one to talk a lot, right? He's not one to say,
he's not trying to boast about it.
Not at all. Not at all his style. And I knew one day would come where, first of all, when I brought him on, it was more like, I know that you guys will see through his work how good he is. And that's pretty much, like you said, how you've gained respect for him already. And then the time would come that there'd be an opportunity for him to share his whole story. And it was cool to watch you guys get to listen to that for the first time, really.
Yeah, he's a very hardworking, passion-driven artist with what he does. And he's got incredible intuitive abilities for social media and media in general. I mean, he's really, really good at what he does. So it's awesome to have him. And then Drew is his little brother, his little 19-year-old brother, who is another. And I asked him, I'm like, is this like in your genes? His brother, very talented also with the with like editing and film and stuff like that. Super passionate little guy who will sit at his computer and just like a laser beam focus on it and complete these tasks. And it was cool watching him hanging out with us because he was so excited about everything.
And then he gets so tired.
Dude. He's like everybody's
He goes like
brother.
1,000,000 miles an hour, and then it's like, where'd Drew go? Oh, he's sleeping again.
He's tuckered out.
Oh, he's so cute.
Didn't you guys? What'd you guys do?
Tuckered
You
out.
guys went to wake him up one
Oh
morning?
yeah. Dude, it was a lot of fun actually. I kind of coined us the run and gun because we just like hijacked the entire event.
Oh, it was you and him?
Yeah, just me and him, and like
I can't wait for that video, by the way.
oh my god, I can't wait to show you guys. Yeah, it was madness because he kind of brings that out of me more, and he wants me to kind of be a little more ridiculous and stuff, and so he's kind of getting more comfortable at coaching and producing me a little bit and stuff, and we kind of riff back and forth of like, what about this idea? What about this guy? This guy's a character. Let's go get him. And it was just a lot of fun, and hopefully that comes out in the video when he cuts it up.
Tell everybody what you kind of did to give us kind of an idea without spoiling everything. What did you guys do?
So the plan really was to
By the way, so the listeners know, like Sal and I and Doug, we were doing other stuff. So we were super busy, and Justin and Drew took off back to the Spartan race where all the competitors have already raced and everything. And
All the vendors, everything's over there.
Right. And then you guys went over there to shoot some film.
So we were just trying to kind of capture a little bit more of the culture of Spartan race. And, because every community has like their own like little like nuanced stuff. Like they dress a certain way. They have like certain vendors they bring into the event. It's just a certain vibe. And so our plan was really to try and capture that and like, have fun with it and find people that really stood out and ask them about like what they're wearing, ask them about like their experience running the race. And we found some pretty interesting characters. And I'm running around with like a helmet at some point, you know what I'm saying? I'm like interviewing these poor girls like an asshole with this like foam thing on a stick. Like it wasn't even a real mic. We just hijacked it. I'm talking to like legit businesses and everything, and they're like, "Who are you? Like, what is this?" Like, it didn't even say anything on it, So it was really like kind of like a rogue, like let's fucking just go crazy.
Would you say it was one of your? Because you guys have done this now. You did it at Paleo.
Yeah,
you've done this now here. I think we did it another time too. Was this one of your favorite? What do you think?
This was like Paleo on steroids.
Oh wow,
we went deep. So yeah, and it'll get crazier and crazier the more that like I think I feel comfortable to where I can flirt the line where I'll probably get kicked out of one of these events.
Oh, that'll be great. But even if you do, that's great film.
Yeah,
you are really good when you go off on your own and do that kind of shit. For sure, and it just keeps getting better the more you practice it. Like I could not do that like you do.
I'm trying to work on it. I feel like this is something that's just fun for me, and so it's something I can do. I
think at some point we could do it to where like if we could somehow see you and me and Adam can commentate somewhere while you're doing shit.
I'll be the guy in the field, like getting all the athletes and all that engaged.
Well, I could see us using the Sling Studio like that. Like how cool would that be? Like where Doug's like controlling like which camera. Oh, we're over here with Justin right now, live with.
Yeah, he's out in the field.
Yeah,
I'm just getting this. Let's see, Justin's talking to someone about
Oh my
a
God.
meat bar.
If you guys could like tell me what to say in my earpiece and all that, and then I'm talking
Because
to
you know
people,
we're going to say some crazy shit.
bro, that would be amazing. And
my
I'd totally do
God.
it too.
Oh, that would be fun.
Oh my
We
God.
have an idea. Look at that. See,
Yeah.
audience
Boom.
gets to hear ideas how this pans out.
gotta do that,
And
bro.
everybody is sober right now. That's pretty good.
Perfectly
Yeah, man.
so.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Almost.
It's
Almost.
early.
Very good.
100%.
You guys want to bring the sober bird on? Let's do this.
Yeah, let's go.
Wow.
Today's Quah is being brought to you by Chimera Coffee. It's the only coffee that is infused with all natural nootropics for a cleaner, calmer, and more focused buzz without the crash. Click the Chimera link at mindpumpmedia.com and input the discount code MINDPUMP at checkout for 10% off.
It's the motherfucking Quah.
Eagle has landed.
All right, our first question is from Tracy Cameron 46. Is there an optimal length of time and weight to do a cut without losing muscle? And would a slower cut affect your metabolism more than a faster one, or vice versa?
Okay, so
Yes,
you
yes,
want
and yes.
you want to cut for exactly 72 days
Stupid.
and 4 hours.
I was
No,
like,
there's no
I was like, where are you
specifics,
going here? Where are
please.
you going here? This is, it's so, I'm surprised you even picked this question because just so the audience knows, sometimes it's really hard for us to pick a question when somebody asks very specific things for themselves, right? I'm this, like people like to put, and remember, like we're trying to help thousands of people. So when someone asks a question that's really, really particular to their goals, it's really tough to give an answer that really benefits everybody. And this one is flirting with that line of, okay, well, you know, is there an optimal length of time and way to cut without, well, no, because everybody is uniquely, this answer is different for every single person when you ask a question like that, right?
But I think we can generally say
there's
taking more time is probably better, right, than going super fast.
The follow-up is, would a slower cut affect your metabolism more than a faster?
Yeah.
And the way, a slower cut is a much healthier approach towards it. Here's our thing. Our body is an adaptation machine, right? So if you are just not really paying attention but consistently eat about 2,000 calories, then all of a sudden you decide you're going to go on this cut and you go from 2,000 to 1,000, which is a big cut, which is what we consider a fast cut, because in the first week you will see fast results.
Slow down.
Fast results. Somebody who cuts 1,000 calories every single day in 7 days is going to see more results than the person who cut 250 calories every single day, right? But what ends up happening is within 2 weeks, that person who's cutting 1,000 calories hits a hard wall, right? And no longer do they start to, and then, again, we're talking about, arbitrary numbers right now. That could be 3 weeks for one person, could be 10 days for another person. But in general, they're going to hit a wall relatively soon when they do a drastic cut like that. Then they hit that wall, and in other words, their metabolism has now slowed down. It has become, and what happens is the body becomes efficient at using only those calories and doing the same
And
activity.
if you exceed it just by the least amount, like your body's gonna be affected by it.
Right. Versus somebody, it's the tortoise and the hare, right?
Yeah.
It's the tortoise and the hare type of deal. And at first, of course, the hare takes off and everybody thinks it's going to win, but it's the slow and steady tortoise that ends up passing up the hare down the way.
So from a physical standpoint, slower is better because, like Adam's saying, you don't want the body to adapt too quickly to these lower calories. But also, when you take a slower approach, you can also focus on building muscle throughout this process. If I'm just trying to lose weight right now, I'm not going to give myself time to maybe focus on getting stronger and increasing performance or improving performance in the gym, which we know if you get stronger and you focus on building muscle, you will do the opposite of slow your metabolism down. You'll actually speed it up. And that takes a little longer than just cutting calories. But there's also another component that we're totally missing here with this, which is the psychological component. When you're telling someone to lose 30 or 40 pounds, what you're really telling them to do is to have a pretty drastic lifestyle change, really. I mean, you're asking someone to lose, a quarter of their body weight or 1/6 of their body weight. That's going to require we change.
That's an excellent point.
We got to change quite a bit, and it's very difficult to have any long-term lasting changes when you throw 15 changes all at once. If right out the gates, it's like, okay, you're not exercising, you're eating really crappy food, you're going to exercise every day, you're going to eat under these parameters, here's your specific macros, like, You might be very motivated at first, but it might be too much at once, and it may lead to you falling off versus doing one step at a time, getting that one step to become a part of your life to where it becomes integrated into your life, and then moving to the next step, and then moving to the next step. And it gives you room to fall back a little bit and come forward. Because what happens typically when people fall back is they throw it all out. So if I tell someone, work out 5 days a week, plus cardio, plus do all this, this stuff with food, and they're super motivated, when they throw one of them out, the tendency is to throw all of it out. Like, well, fuck, if I missed a workout, I'm not even going to worry about my food today. I'm just whatever. But if it's one step at a time, then we can play with that step until it becomes more integrated.
One of the interviews we did this past week, I can't remember who it was, but they asked us a question similar to this, and they actually had a name or a term for something for the way that we actually coach and teach people. And what that was even though your goal is weight loss, the first thing that I do with your diet is actually add to the diet, which seems counterproductive to what you're trying to do. But most people that have got themselves in this situation are underfeeding some crucial nutrients that their body needs. For example, almost every diet that I ever look at, when I look at a diet, is someone is under consuming fiber, they're over consuming carbohydrates, they're not
enough vegetables,
not enough good healthy fats. And so what we do is we normally look at the diet and maybe exchange some of the things that the choices they were making with better, healthier choices and actually more things. So they actually end up getting kind of a surplus at the beginning.
Then we start subtracting.
And really, it's funny because I love that approach because it's not takeaway; it's an add. And like one of the easiest things you could do is you could tell someone, okay, first thing we're going to do with your diet, I'm not going to tell you to cut anything out, but I want you to eat 3 servings of leafy green vegetables every day.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And just naturally see what happens.
Yeah, and just see what happens.
Try and fit the rest of the shit in with that.
Right. Now, exactly. The first thing that's going to happen is when they add those 3 servings of vegetables is they're going to feel good because now they've got all these nutrients they didn't have before and all this fiber. The second thing that's going to happen is when they know that they need to eat those, they tend to prioritize them. So, okay, coach says I need to eat 3 servings of vegetables, so I'm going to start, breakfast, lunch, and dinner with these vegetables. You're probably going to eat less of the other stuff as well as a result. But even if you don't do that, it's easier to add than it is to take away, and that's a good starting point. But I guess the short answer to this is slow. Go slow. Take your time. Do one thing at a time. It is a lifestyle change. Speed up your metabolism before you decide to cut calories. Get stronger. Make the cornerstone of that of your routine around strength. And as far as nutrition is concerned, one step at a time because you want to lose it once. That's what I always tell my clients. How many times do you want to lose this weight? And they always answer just one time. Say, okay, then let's do it the right way because otherwise you're going to be losing it for the rest of your life.
All right. Next up is Fit M28. Is it true that you need to warm up your body with cardio before lifting?
Ooh.
That's funny.
Ooh.
Warm up for what?
You know what?
What's the difference? Let's talk about warming up.
Well, this
They're
is
just talking about
what
blood flow.
motivated. If you've been around for a long time, this was kind of a popular question a long time ago. And almost everything, well, actually everything that we've created was a response to the audience, right? We get a lot of people that asked about CrossFit and what if I like that way of training? So outcomes performance. A lot of people that love bodybuilding and we're like, okay, well, how would you do it? Okay, well, here comes Maps Black. Well, a lot of people know that, okay, I've been told that warming up the body and getting ready to where I've heard that's so important. Is it best to just get on and do cardio? And this is what really inspired Maps Prime.
Yeah, you still see a lot of programs that will just have you run laps and all that stuff just to get the body sort of moving and get, blood flow and get heart rate up to a certain degree. But that's really the extent of what has been in our industry is being sort of sent out is like that's, it's important, but that's as much thought process that's gone into it.
So with warming up, the concept of warming up and the idea behind it, even if you ask people today, you say, okay, why do you warm up? What's important about a warm up? And everybody's going to answer the same way. Most people will. It's to prevent injury, which I think is hilarious. Okay, it'd be like me buying a car and the only thing I'm looking at is this car going to explode? No, cool, I got it. I want to get the car that doesn't explode. The very least that a warm up should do for your body is prevent injury. That's the least. It better fucking do that. But there's a lot more that a warm-up can do. A lot more. it can actually take your workout, if you do it right, whatever your workout is. If you go into the gym and you're doing squats and overhead presses and some farmer walks,
You're
and
going to supercharge it.
you're going to maximize that workout by priming your body to fire its muscles in the right order and the right way, to send the right signal that you're trying to send when you're when you're working out, to give you so that you can jump into your workout and create the best recruitment patterns that you can create. There's so much that a warm up can do that is beyond preventing injury. That's like the absolute minimum.
It's the difference, and I was trying to find your analogy there. I got a better one. It's like going to play a round of golf. What does everybody do before they play a round of golf? You get there a half hour to an hour early.
You go through the mechanics.
You go through all the mechanics. Yeah. You drive. You go hit. We normally hit about 100 balls, and then we go putt another 50 or so.
And if you're good, you also get in the wedge. You get in the putting. You get all that.
Yeah, right. So and then you go out and then you play around. Now, can you go play around and not do that? Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Do you think you're going to make a play a lot better if you go and actually prime the mechanics of the actual what movement you're going to be doing? Well, you know
why? Yeah, because, that's looked at as a skill, right? Like golf is already thought of as like this is like a very specialized skill.
Which blows my mind. We don't look at
exercise like that at all.
And anybody who's ever performed a deadlift, an overhead press, a squat, these movements are a fucking skill. It's the reason why most people, for the very first time, cannot just get under a bar and perform it correctly, because it's a skill. And when you start to treat it like a skill, it will actually give you more back in return. Mm-hmm. If you just treat it as exercise and this is just moving and burning calories, too many people think of weightlifting like moving around and just burning. Like if that's all you're using exercise for, then we'll quit wasting your time with a gym membership. Just go run around and wave your arms and flap it around and jump up and down and just move for an hour. And you're right, that will burn calories, and that's one way, I guess, of exercising. But if you're going to go lift weights, you want to treat it like a skill, and you want to get really good at it, because the better you get at it, the more return you're going to get from it, the more muscle you will build, the more fat you will, and then
the less time it takes to get there. Right?
And like Sal said, the least thing that you're going to get from the byproduct is you won't get injured, right? So that's like a duh from it.
So let me give you a good example of what and this is a very specific one of what a good warm up, or as we call it, priming session would look like for someone who is going to go work out their chest. Let's say someone's going to work out their chest and they've got really bad forward shoulder.
Well, let's not even say really bad forward shoulder. Let's just tell everybody that almost everybody, okay, we're talking 80+% of the human population have upper cross syndrome.
Right. So you've got bad forward shoulder.
Everybody.
So the way I may prime myself or this person before a bench press or whatever is I'll make sure that the muscles that stabilize the shoulder region, that stabilize the scapula, that retract them and depress them, that's pull them back and down, are active. They're activated and they're ready to fire. I'll also make sure that this individual, if they have tight pecs, that we've loosened them up a little bit. Now, I'm not going to statically stretch them, but I may do some dynamic stretches for the chest so we can get a good full range of motion, so it doesn't pull the shoulders forward even further and cause problems in those shoulders. Same thing with if I have a client who's going to go do squats, and let's say her glutes just don't fire. Well,
yeah,
before that workout,
let's stick to the chest, like you're saying, and keep going this direction and deeper into why this is so important. So Sal's addressing upper cross syndrome, which is the rounded shoulders and the forward head that everybody pretty much suffers from. It's just a matter of how much you suffer from it. So if you don't warm up properly or prime the body, you get under. Sure, you can bench press, but when you do bench press, your deltoids, so your shoulders and your triceps, are probably taking over a little bit more.
Way too dominant.
They're taking, and those that are listening to this right now, this is you. If you're somebody who bench presses and you're like, man, I just never really feel it in my chest, or my chest never really gets sore, but you feel it in your,
not fully retracted, probably.
Right? You feel it in your arms. Yeah. This is why. It's because if you just do a movement, even if it looks like the movement is proper, but your body is out of position mechanically, then what ends up happening is the secondary muscles take over, carry the load, and you're not activating the prime mover.
Right. And sometimes, this does need corrective work, and it's going to take an amount of time to really solidify that position, even to sustain it for an amount of time. But, once you get to that point, now you have to like coach your body consistently. Like, here's the position that's ideal. Here's here's what I want out of this. And so that's where the prime, the warm up comes into play, where we need to reiterate that point to your body and to, you know, your command center to operate that way going into the lift.
Right.
I want to add something, because you said, like, if you don't feel it in your chest, you may feel it. You may even feel it in your chest.
Right. You're right.
You may get sore in your chest, but you also may be creating a pattern in your upper body or enforcing a pattern that is not optimal, that will promote injury and problems in the future.
And that goes back to like the golf swing analogy. You could still hit the ball. Just because you're hitting the ball and it's going in front of you doesn't necessarily you're hitting the ball correctly. Like you could be creating bad habits, bad patterns. Anybody that understands golf knows that if you have this awful swing, just because you're hitting the ball doesn't necessarily mean you're hitting the ball optimally, and eventually that catches up to you. It will keep you from going to the next level in that sport. Well, the same thing goes for exercise. Yes, you can get through the exercises. Yes, you could feel it in your chest, but if you want the optimal or the most ideal results from that movement, then learning how to do it mechanically. And so this was the real magic behind Prime, is that within Prime, there is an at-home test that each person takes, and it will definitely tell you what areas you need the most work put in before you go to work out, so that you get the best out of all of your exercises. So it's very individualized. It's not like, oh, here's the movements, because we've had people ask us before. Well,
it has to be individualized.
Yes.
Your priming session or your warm-up should be based on your individual body. That's it. I mean, it has to be based on your individual body, because what Adam may do with his priming session before his workout may be perfect for him, but it may be the exact opposite of what Justin needs to do before his workout.
Well, we all have different limb lengths. We all have different variables. You know, we've all like had different sleeping patterns, different stress. Like there's just like way too many factors that people have to realize. It's so individualized. That's the difficulty we face as trainers and coaches, that we're trying to tackle this. But how do we tackle this and make it simple? That was our best answer to it. And that's literally like what we came up with, that seems to be working very well if you put the effort into it. You have to learn this yourself.
I'll end it with this. Priming or warming up should be part of your workout every single time. It should not be a disposable part of your workout. It's just as important as the workout.
Next question is from Deller Zach 02. Your thoughts on how low-calorie healthy foods like Halo Top affect a person's relationship with food?
This is a good question.
This is a good question.
This reminds me of that conversation we had with the
No Foods guy.
The No Foods guy. Right. So this person is referring to, and he put healthy in quotes, foods that are in that health market, but that are designed and engineered to taste really
like
good.
Food.
Yeah. So like, if you like pizza, try our pizza, which tastes the same, but it's got, less calories, less carbs, less fat, whatever. Or, try Halo type ice cream because it's got less calorie, less sugar.
There's really two different positions that we can take on this.
Well, I think they're both valid.
Right.
I think there's two positions that are very valid.
Yeah.
Are they better options than their unhealthy counterparts? And
they could be.
And I'm being general here, because there's some of these quote unquote healthy foods which are worse,
depending on where your awareness is and your psychology, right?
Like you could be like, Diet Coke is better than regular Coke. Maybe not, depending on the context. But let's say something genuinely is made with decent ingredients and it just tastes really good. Is it a better alternative? In the short term, I think it is. Obviously, if you're eating regular ice cream, and then you go to another type of ice cream that's, still it's got healthier ingredients, lower calories and stuff like that, it could be good. But it could also be bad because it doesn't handle the root of what's going on, where you're seeking out these highly palatable foods for comfort, for stress, or for whatever. The other thing you want to consider is when foods are engineered to be super, super, super palatable or super tasty.
Makes it really easy to become addicted to them.
And you overeat. You'll tend to overeat them. I mean, I'd get protein bars that taste super good, and I'd eat a fuck ton of them, and because they're protein bars, right?
Well, this was the debate that I kind of got into it with this guy who is, building a very large company that is targeting this market. So I said, well, here's the problem I have with these quote unquote healthy foods is because they're lower calorie and considered healthy, I tend to justify eating them more often. And in reality, none of them are really that beneficial for my body. So that's the attitude you got to kind of look at, is like, yeah, man, Halo. I mean, if it just happened to be Friday night and Katrina and I are sitting down to watch a movie and I'm just like, I've been really dialed in on my diet. I'm like, you know what, man, I just want that taste of ice cream. I haven't had it in a long time. Either one, I'll go get
all the diarrhea.
Either one, I'll go get the frozen yogurt version of whatever flavor I'm feeling like, or maybe I did something like Halo, and then that I have it that night, and then I feel like I satisfy the quote unquote craving that I'm having at the time, and then I move along my day and go on. But what I've seen, at least in the bodybuilding world, since I'm very familiar with the people that are promoting these types of foods, is they get refrigerators full of this stuff, and then it becomes a very regular thing in their diet because they're still not addressing the addiction issue that they have for this food, because it's you
can abuse these foods just like you can abuse any other food,
right?
You can treat them just like
and arguably it's easier to, because
it's justified.
One, it's justified, and then two, they're engineered for you to become addicted to.
Still have the cravings attached to it, right?
Yeah,
that hasn't even been addressed.
And really, there's so when you look at this healthy food category, you have the highly engineered, super processed, healthy food stuff, and then you have healthy foods that are just alternatives that are not in that same category. For example, you may like pasta. Well, maybe I'll have some when it's the spaghetti squash. Maybe I'll do spaghetti squash and then put sauce in that.
That to me is a much better.
Now it's not. It doesn't taste like pasta,
right?
But it's healthy. It's lower calorie. It may be better.
It's real food.
It's real food. It may be better for me. So because a lot of these healthy foods tend to be, low sugar, right? Like low carbohydrate, low sugar, or low fat, or whatever. But then in order to make them taste the way they do, they pack them full of chemicals and stuff. Like how do you get something low fat that gives you that same mouthfeel? Well, they may need to put some kind of synthetic chemicals or whatever to give you the same mouthfeel. Or how do I get something sweet without putting sugar in it because I'm trying to make a product that's low sugar? Well, let's use aspartame or sucralose. So that's the other thing you want to be careful for. And lastly, when we engineer foods to taste in these highly palatable ways, that with these combinations of tastes and flavors and colors that we would never encounter in nature, your brain is still perceiving these tastes, and there's still something going on. So if I taste something that even has no calories in it, but is super sweet and tasty, I'm still sending a signal to my brain that says super sweet and tasty, and I may still have similar effects in terms of the neurochemicals and the emotional connections to these types of foods. So I do think they're a stepping stone.
I do too.
I just don't think it's a place that you stay.
That's how I look at it. Is it's like a stepping stone, because the argument to promote something like this, and I can get behind this, is let's say someone like me who was very much so addicted to ice cream for many, many years. I had a Ben & Jerry's or the Safeway brand or whatever of them, like fucking pint of ice cream every single night of my life. Like every single night of my life.
You ate a whole...
Yeah. Every night.
The pint is this one,
I
right?
did that for a while
It's like
too,
1,500 to 2,000 calories of ice cream.
Every single night.
Every single night.
What was your flavor?
Oh, man, I ate it all, dude. Mint chip.
Half-baked.
Yeah, mint chip and chocolate chip. I'm pretty basic when it comes to my favorite flavors, but I'll have everything. I mean, so...
Would you just sit down in front of the TV and just crush it?
Yeah, no, it was very much so a routine of my life where and again...
How did you break that?
So
Because doing it that long...
So this is a really good question, and this is why I can get behind this, and I could still argue and debate the positive side of this. I had Halo. I definitely have had this.
So you went from regular to Halo.
Right, or frozen yogurt, or another option first. I actually went from ice cream to gelato to frozen yogurt to Halo to cocoa whip to not really needing it at all. And it was and we're talking about a long process here for me. So we're talking about somebody who had ice cream every single day of his life for probably 10 plus years. And that's not exaggeration for those that are wondering. Like I couldn't gain weight my whole life. And so 2,000 calories of ice cream was no fucking big deal.
If anything, you were like, this is awesome.
Right.
I need more calories. I'll just eat ice cream.
Right.
Totally.
So this is definitely something that I had to later on learn to change as far as a habit. And these types of foods did help it. But I remembered that, and I think that's the true takeaway from this is that totally, I mean, I think all of our thoughts on this, I think it's a better choice than that, but don't stop there. Don't stop there. It's just still not the most ideal thing that my body could have right now. And you need to understand that. You need to understand that I'm really not serving my body by eating this every single night.
It's like the methadone of foods.
Right.
God,
right.
what a great, it's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Like you're replacing one thing for another. So be careful of that. Like Adam was saying, I think as a stepping stone is perfectly fine. But if you're not addressing the root of what's going on, then you're never going to really solve anything. And you may get stuck in here if you're lucky, but most people end up doing this. Most people will replace their ice cream with Halo Top or whatever, and then they'll just go back to ice cream after a little while because it still does
It
taste
tastes like shit.
it still does taste
And
better.
then
I want my Ben and Jerry's.
the real scary part is, and for me, like what became my concern later on was, here I've got my Halo Top, then I have my, my protein bar, my shake,
skinny,
my Diet Coke, and then my sweetener
Skinny
inside
ice
my
cream.
coffee. Then I started like really evaluating my day and being like, holy shit, like I took in 5 different things today that were all artificially sweetened. And with what we're seeing with artificial sweeteners, I don't think that's a great idea. Do I think it's going to kill me tomorrow? No, I do not think that. Do I think that it's such a big deal that I need to be freaking? No, but I should be fucking aware. I should be aware enough to realize that is probably not ideal for me. It's probably not putting myself in the best position I can, and start to pay attention to that stuff and eliminate it where I can and get better at it. So I think, like Sal said, it's a great stepping stone in the right direction. And I totally think it's fine for somebody to utilize. But again, what I see on Instagram, which drives me crazy, is those pages where people are, every other fucking post is a Halo Top with their, what's that, Walden's fake chocolate syrup, and the Walden's fake cream.
Skinny cow ice cream.
Yeah, I mean, and, you're trying to lose weight, but you're also trying to be healthy. So, consider that. And, and this is going to go, this is down the line. So I'm going to go kind of when you get down the line of, working on your nutrition and your fitness, and you're moving down the list, you'll also start to realize that these highly palatable foods just make it harder for you to eat healthy, in the sense that when I eat foods that are super tasty because they've been engineered that way, even if they're healthy-ish and they fit, with what I'm eating, they tend to make me want to eat more, because that's what they do. That's what they're designed for. So at some point, it's way easier for me to eat the amount I'm supposed to eat when I avoid all foods that are, designed this way. When I cook my foods and when I have, things that are natural, it just makes it harder to overeat. So consider that as well.
Next up is healthy, happy, and free. Do you miss anything about personal training?
She does ask, or he, it's a girl, right?
I think so.
She asks very good questions.
Yeah.
So we tend to pick
So
those.
it happens.
All right.
Yes, I do. What I miss most about personal training are the people I used to train.
Yeah. The conversations. for the most part.
It's I had, when I left or when I sold my studio and then we did this full time, the clients that I had with me, who, I don't know how many clients I had, probably around 20. They had all been with me for an average of, if you took them all and just averaged it out, 6 or 7 years. Some of them were with me for 12 years, where they came in the same time during the week, every week for 12 years consistently. Like, I saw these people, and it was a dedicated hour of spending time with that person. I don't spend a dedicated hour with a lot of people that I know in my life, like I did with some of these people on a weekly basis. So you develop these relationships with people, and I miss them. I definitely do. Now, the good thing is my girlfriend trains a lot of them now, and they're still, my old studio's still there. So if I want, I can pop in, and I have a couple times and said hi to people, but I really miss that. I really miss that time where, we're working out together, we're connecting, we're talking about issues, whatever. I miss learning from them. I learned so much from the people that I trained, everything from professionally. I had clients that were extremely successful, so they would teach me things, to, stuff about the human body. I would train doctors and surgeons, and I'd learn about medicine. I'd ask them questions all the time. They loved talking about it. To life lessons. One of my, the oldest client I had, or the one that stayed with me the longest, her name is Carol. She was, she's in her 70s. And, if I had questions about raising my kids or I needed advice on relationships or whatever, like she was just an excellent person to talk to and ask questions, and she would give me great feedback, and I really respected it. So I don't miss anything more than the actual people themselves.
I think, I would definitely agree with all of that. I mean, that's the first thing I think about is all the conversations, the deep conversations, just the life you experience together. Like I've had clients where, they can remember when I was single, I was coming back from Chicago, and the first time I met Courtney, who became my wife, they went to grad school. Then after that, they actually got their PhD, like things like that, where it's like we did a lot of like monumental milestones in life. Like,
you grow together.
And, and it's crazy. It's a really deep, like really cool, intimate thing that, is work on top of that, which is interesting. But, for me, just like looking at it like, besides all that and looking at it just as a job, like what I do miss about it is, it was simple. Like it became to a point where like I see them and I'm like, cool, I get to like, structure this around what I know they're capable of and kind of challenge them a little bit. But like that was the extent. There wasn't all this extra
noise.
Just this and uncertainty, like all these different like projects and things and like bombardment of where we're at today, which is also really cool, but it's totally different, right? Yeah. So like it was more simple then, which made like going home a little bit easier and like being able to be present a lot easier. To where now, like I think being present, I feel like I'm kind of riding this crazy like storm where it's not even a storm, it's just like a like I feel like lost sometimes, like walking down this huge woods somewhere, like where do I go? Where am I today?
It
like,
definitely changed.
Holy shit.
Our business now definitely changes so much month to month, whereas when you're training people, a lot of things don't change.
No. I don't miss anything about personal. No, not at all. Not even the slightest bit, and I'll tell you why. Because the two main things that I absolutely loved about personal training, which is very similar to what you guys were saying, I love the growth that I got because of the people that I was in. Great to train these CEOs and psychologists, therapists, and doctors and lawyers, and just, man, it was like just this plethora of knowledge that I would get every single day talking to these great minds and getting to know them and building relationships. And then the other piece that I just fucking loved was changing someone's life, was to make an impact on them that forever changed them. Like that was so rewarding. But I tell you, this business shits on those two things. It shits on it. Like,
well, if you had to compare the two, we're obviously here.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
Well, here's
the
thing. Like, if we look at just those two things for me, that motivated me and excited me, the growth, right? The amount of knowledge that I would this weekend. Just the people that I was around, the people I got to converse with and mingle with and build relationships with, it was more information, more knowledge, more growth packed in that weekend than a year's worth of personal training clients.
It's like super speed.
Right. And then every time we turn these mics on, I have right now, and I apologize for those that have left me DMs on my Instagram or emails. I can't even get to all the people that are just thanking us for the information and how much we've impacted and changed their life. So the level of rewarding, how rewarding it is because of how many people we're impacting and changing, again, shits on personal training. I couldn't touch as many people as we're touching right now. Yeah. So there's not a day that goes by that I go like, man, I kind of miss the good old days where I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and train 8 people and then take a little hour nap and come back and train another 4 or 5 people. Like,
what about the clients, like the people you made contacts with?
Well,
do you ever miss them?
I still stay in contact with them. I pride myself on being the relationship guy. I stay in touch and touch a lot of lives and people that I've been around, and I try and,
because I think that's the big one, right? Is that you train these people for so long and then you don't see them as much, or even if you're in contact with them, it's still not the. But
even them, like, so I probably talk more to the leaders that I develop that are out there touching the lives of clients more than I actually talk to the clients, because I get selfishly, I get more out of that personally. I'll still meet a trainer that I hired 15 years ago and is still in the industry and running his own business or has his own gym, and I'll meet and have lunch with him or her and sit down and spend a couple hours of just catching up and giving advice and just bending their ear and letting them bend mine. And I love that, and I still get to feel that desire and need that I had for when I back in the training days. So yeah, man, I don't miss it at all in the slightest bit, and I fucking love what we're doing now.
I had a few clients that I trained where I trained them before they got married. Then they got married. Then they got pregnant, and then they had the baby. Then they would come into the gym. I actually had 3 clients like this. They'd come into the gym with the baby, and I would hold their baby while they would do sets, because I used to tell, because I own the place, right? So I used to tell them, because they'd be like, oh, I don't know if I can keep coming in because I have the baby. And I'd be like, bring the baby here, and it's a private studio, so we'll make it happen.
Totally.
And you guys know me, I love kids. So if you're going to bring a kid in my gym, a baby, you've basically got the best personal trainer / babysitter combo on the planet. So I'd play with the kids. I'd set up obstacles for the kids while they'd work out, or if they were real young, my client Dawn, who I worked with years ago, her daughter Kenzie, she would sit in her little carrier and she'd cry, and I'd swing her or I'd feed her while she was working out. And I do miss the kids because, I'm in contact with them, and I ran into them the other day. I actually ran into Dawn and Kenzie the other day, and she's so big now. And kids, kids change so quickly.
Yeah.
And it got me a little emotional because I saw her and I'm like, man, I haven't seen you in a couple years, and you've changed so much in a couple years. Like, look how tall you are. And I told her, I'm like, I used to swing you in the carrier when your mom was working out and feed you and all that stuff. And, would I go back to it? No.
It's just nostalgia, though.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Just, and that's how I feel, too. It's like I said, just when you trace it back to, like, all the life you spent with these people, it's like, it is. Like, it's something that you reflect on with good feelings. But at the same time, like, I get where Adam's coming from. Like, I don't like look at, things were simple and life was like, I'm a growth person. Like I was always seeking that. Even when I was training people, I was thinking about like projects or these other ideas I had that I always wanted to pursue. And it's like, now we're in a position where we're pursuing it. And it's like, it's going to kind of level out to a point where we have the systems like solidified, and I won't feel so like I'm running around like aimlessly. Which I'm really excited about.
Then we'll have another project.
Yeah, we will. I'll add on a fire to that for sure.
Yeah. Did you guys towards the end of your careers, be honest, because I'll tell you straight up, the last, I don't know, few years of training people and owning my studio, I was really bored.
Well,
totally. I was
dead inside.
I was unstimulated for a long time leading up to it because. And there's only so much you can do within it. Yeah. But man, the last couple of years were straight up like,
because you already had like 1 foot out.
I didn't hate it because I loved the clients, so they'd come in and be like, "Hey, what's up, John?" Whatever. But it was so fucking boring. For me towards the end there that I know I wasn't as good of a trainer as I could have been.
Totally.
Because I was just so unstimulated.
I only truly lasted 20 months. 20 months in the position of training clients, and I was over it. I was already over being a slave to everybody else's schedule, and I'd already felt like I had got the great like excitement of what it was like to change a life and help people, that I had already moved on to developing other leaders. Like that really motivated me more. Like that, if someone asked me that question, if there's anything I miss that's connected to what I used to do, was the other leaders. Like that I loved. I love to take other guys and girls that you knew were going to go on to lead, potentially hundreds, maybe even thousands of people one day, and know that I had the ability to impact them for the good. That, to me.
And now that opportunity is presenting itself again with our train the trainers and really diving into that side
or even
of the
just
business.
As our staff grows,
our staff, all that. But there's all that is going to come back, which is great.
I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, check it out. Go to YouTube, subscribe to Mind Pump TV. We post a new video every single day. In fact, the one we posted today is crazy. Go check it out before they take it down. Also, 30 days of coaching
Hot fire.
For free, available at mindpumpmedia.com.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.